Welcome in. It's ATB at the buzzer. Adam and Rubber Shoes today. Adam and Billy here. No Timmy. Timmy is doing something fancy. I don't know. He said some sort of dinner
Yeah,
for
work
work or
dinner,
something.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, some work event. He's probably at Ruth Chris Steakhouse and ordering a $70 steak on the company. So we'll let him be on that, and we've got a lot to BS about today. So make sure you hit us up at atbshow.com. You can get everything there. We've got our YouTube channel, which is where the show lives most days. We've got our podcast there. You can link to our Instagram account where you can see every morning the Rubber Shoes rant and wrap up, brought to you by AAA Work Trucks. Rubber Shoes, did you shake your head? Have you not done it in a while? Or
Yeah,
what's
no,
going on?
you're digitally again.
Oh no, I don't hear it.
Oh, now it's fine.
All right. Oh geez. Wah, wah, wah. This is the beauty of doing it from your house and not an actual studio. Rubber Shoes, are you you're still doing it, right? What you've got to be on
Yep.
day 400 something at this point, right?
Yeah. So it's weird. On the Instagram from my personal account, it's changed how I post them. Like I can't put it in the series anymore.
Okay.
And that was my true count because I started that from day one. And then when I started doing it on the show page, doing it in a series. So it's definitely over 365. It's so it's I think it's say Mayish. So yeah, gotta be close to 400.
Wow. We should do a celebration when you hit 500. I think that's
Yeah.
the
I'll have to look ahead and see when that's gonna be. I'll
it'll
try to
be
get a
here,
count.
here before we know it for sure.
Yeah.
All right. One thing I wanted to just promise everyone before we get started is that we will not spend a minute talking about glasses or eye drops on this show. So I was last week, I was listening. I'm like, what is going on? Is this an optometrist podcast or what's going?
Yeah.
I see you have your glasses back on, so we won't even talk about it. But I just wanted to mention what the hell's going on. We will talk about the Celtics, though. The Celtics, since we last spoke, I can't believe.
Before we get into the Celtics, I forgot
please.
to during our rundown. I forgot to talk about this because I kind of wanted to surprise and say it. So I just want to say congratulations on the WNBA's 25th year.
Oh, thank you.
Which I believe. So I was at the gym and on ESPN they were showing it, and so I'm guessing it's today or maybe it was last night, but it's sometime this week that it's 25 years at it. Which when I had said something to my wife about it, she's like, "Wow, I can't believe they've been around for that long." And then good for them. I'm glad that they've been able to keep it going. I mean, I don't watch it, but I'm glad that they're able to keep it going.
Well, I'm appreciative of the shout out of the WNBA. It actually brings up that I took our daughters had their 10th birthday. That their birthday was actually on Tuesday. But so we had separate birthday parties. They're twins, so this is the first year we had separate birthday parties. One of our daughters had her birthday party the previous Saturday, and then this past Saturday we took our second daughter to WNBA game, Connecticut Sun game, and she brought 8 of her friends, and we sat in the nosebleeds, but they got on the jumbotron twice. She got her first ever and my first ever being at an arena t-shirt cannon shot to her, so she got a t-shirt on her birthday. Wow, which was awesome. It was Sue Bird's second to last game at Connecticut, so every time she made a shot, people went nuts. And then the Connecticut Sun actually ended up winning. I think it was 82-71. So it was a great night all around. If you have a chance to get down to Mohegan Sun, it's worth it. It's not expensive. The food is super inexpensive. And the games are really good. It was a really good game. And if they don't, like you go to a minor league baseball park and they do all this junk during the games. Actually, you do it now in the NBA too. They do all this junk in between the timeouts and everything.
Yeah,
they don't really do a lot of that, which I was appreciative of because sometimes that gets a little tired.
They did shoot the cannons.
They did do the cannons. They did the cannons. That was the one thing that they did, but they didn't do like, run around in circles for 15 minutes and then run down and try and make a layup. They didn't do any of that junk. So it was a lot of fun. We had a good time, and I knew that this was their 25th anniversary. I didn't know that it was now. I knew this year was it, but I didn't know when it was. So appreciate you bringing it up. the Connecticut Sun, by the way, are not going to be in the Commissioner's Cup.
Are
But
you're not hearing it?
what?
I'm hearing you
Oh no!
digitally again. Yeah.
What is
I hope
happening?
maybe it won't go. Maybe it's only going through to me like that. Hopefully not
Maybe.
through the.
Yeah, I'm not hearing it. So,
Yeah.
well, just have to keep going
All right.
and hope. The last time we were just talking about this before we got on. The last time I was on, it was me, Rubber Shoes, and Bobby Dugan, and it was like the creak of the door every time somebody opened
Yeah.
the door because I forgot to use my microphone. So I need to get an engineer in here and actually have them work on my rig a little bit. I call Timmy, but he'll never stop in Connecticut, so whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it was the first game was I believe the LA Sparks versus the New York Liberty, and it was uh, Rebecca Lobo
Mhm.
was playing for the Liberty, and Les. Can't believe I was not into it, but I appreciate it. Like
Yeah,
them having was it Leslie or Lisa?
Lisa Leslie.
Oh, okay. Lisa Leslie. Yeah.
Good.
So those
Yeah,
were the two big names to start back
right.
then.
Right, and they sort of put the WNBA on the map, and then Don Staley was also a big time player. She was the flag bearer for the Olympics when they went to the Olympics in '96, I think. Before, so that would be before the WNBA started, actually. So, um, there's some incredible athletes that play in the WNBA. I know you don't really follow it, but the games are good and they're fun to watch. They're not as physical, obviously, as the men's games, but and certainly none of the flashy dunks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
definitely,
my
if you
thing
love
is
basketball, it's fun.
I watch way too much stuff,
Mhm.
so it's hard to add that into it. I do I don't watch women's soccer all the time, but I do watch the World Cup and the
Yeah.
Olympics and the same basketball. I'll on the Olympics I would watch them, and the women's ice hockey and the Olympics I love watching. So I it's not that I'm a women's sport hater.
Gotcha.
It's just I have so much other stuff that I try to get into that it's hard to add those extra layers, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. And back to the talking about the Celtics, it's funny because the Celtics ended on Thursday and I was almost in like a funk on Friday because I'm like, what am I gonna watch? Like, I don't want to watch First Take and hear them talk about how the Warriors were amazing. And I don't want to listen to my podcast that I like to listen to and hear how, the Celtics they'll get there at some point and all this stuff. I was like, I don't want to listen to it, but I'm like having withdrawal. It's such a long playoffs. I mean, it starts in what, early May and ends, or is it even
It
earlier than
might
that?
have been the end of April, I think it
Yeah,
starts.
yeah, and it's like, and they had bunch of long series. I know the first series they swept, but they had 2 7-game series and
Yeah.
then a 6-game series. That's a lot of basketball. And like I don't know about you, but I'm like planning my night around it. So, if the games, in the earlier rounds, the games were on a little bit earlier. And I felt like, all right, I'm sitting down, I had dinner, I'm ready to go watch the game and just be in the zone with the Celtics. And then all of a sudden one day it just goes away. Now it would have been easier for it to go away if they had won, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that they lost and, they looked like they were tired, I think. And, not that I'm saying anything that anybody else hasn't said, but it just, it didn't feel to me like they all of a sudden forgot how to play, you know? It felt more like they just got tired. I mean, Al Horford, he was a monster in game one, and then you never saw him again, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that um well, Golden State definitely changed how they defended them. They were
Mhm.
right up on them in their hip pocket as soon as they came over the half court line, and they didn't give them any space, and um they reverted to hero ball a lot, which
Yeah.
we know doesn't work for them. You know, here and there once in a while, especially if one of them is feeling it, then you can see it. But overall, the way that they work the best is moving the ball around, creating open shots for other people, and they kind of went away from that. And it didn't help that the role players kind of disappeared You know,
Yeah.
Grant Williams, Derek White, they were Grant Williams was non-existent the whole series. Derek White and Horford and Smart had really good game one, and Derek White disappeared after that. Horford had a little here and there, but still not enough to open it up for Tatum. And I gotta tip my hat to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown showed me what I wanted to see from Tatum in that last game.
Yeah.
He gave it his all. I know he's got to work on turning the ball over, but he gave you what you wanted to see out of your players in a do or die situation. And he matched Curry with 34 points that game, and he showed me what I wanted to see from Tatum the whole series. He never really had that game where he's like, okay, guys, get on my back. And it could have been fatigue factor. That's why it was so disappointing that they had a chance to end those series earlier.
Right.
And we all kind of had a feeling that it could, although, they're probably 10 years younger than most of the Golden State stars. So you wouldn't think it would be that much of a factor, but it definitely seemed like it was.
But you know what the
they
thing
were
is with
very frustrating. When your team makes it to the championship and loses in the championship, at least you're like, oh, it was a good run. It didn't feel like it was a good run. They was so up and down in every series. It wasn't like the Milwaukee series and the Miami series. They both won 7 games, but they like every game wasn't down to the wire. Last minute they lost a game. Last minute they won a game. It was like they got blown out a game. They
Right.
blew out the other team the other game, and they weren't great series, But I'm very looking forward to the future. And so when I was watching, I was the same way. Didn't want to listen to a lot of stuff last weekend,
Yeah.
and got back into listening and watching the local sports shows. And when I was watching yesterday, I think I sent a text out that they said the Vegas odds for landing Bradley Beal were 3-1 for the Celtics, and they were the favorite to land them. I think that was even ahead of Washington.
So here's my question though, and maybe this is I haven't watched enough Bradley Beal, but like, where does he play? Right? You play a 3 guard, 3 wing set. Like, I don't really understand how he fits into the mix. Like, obviously he's a terrific player, but I don't understand where that piece gets placed.
So the way that Brad Stevens always, when people ask, oh, who plays the 5, who plays the 4, it's like they're numberless offense.
Right.
They don't have, and they have enough guys that can play multiple position. As far as on defense, they can defend centers, they can defend forwards, they can defend guards, so they're very flexible that way. So I think you get the talent and you figure it out. It's up to Ime to figure out how he wants to run the offense with 3 guys that can score 30 a game. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. I would hope that they wouldn't have to give anything up for Bradley Beal, although they probably would, right? I mean, it's
it depends. So he can opt out. He has a player option. He can opt out and be a free agent. And
Okay.
then, so it's just a matter of them creating cap space for him.
Yeah.
But they do have, so they have a 17 million exemption
Right.
already. So that's 17 million that they can get. So it's just, they'd have to probably clear out another 15 to 20 off of their cap to be able to fit them in to sign them. But most of those people usually do a sign and trade because they can make more money with their existing team and they want to maximize what they can make. So they do a sign and trade. But
right.
Basically, it's in Beal's court right now.
Well, I'll be interested to see what happens. I mean, there'll be a bunch of maneuvering around the draft, which I think is Thursday night, right?
It's like that when they were talking about it on the local shows. they're like, oh yeah, the draft's Thursday. It's like, okay, you stop playing. You're right into this now. If you're gonna make any trades for draft day trades, it's gonna happen right now.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I'll be interested to see what happens with the draft, and then if they do make any moves. The one thing so far that Brad Stevens has not that has I've enjoyed about his time as president of basketball operations is that he's not afraid to pull the trigger. I know he hasn't made any big splashy moves. I mean, Derek White's not a huge splash, but he made a move at least. I mean,
Right.
like in 21, we made no moves and we were flipping terrible. And I also read somebody was saying that Ime Udoka is, you could look at that as having lured a free agent into Boston, because I think it was Wick that was saying this. Basically he had 8 teams he could have gone to, and he picked the Celtics. Now, part of that is that he wanted to coach Tatum and Brown. I know that. But the other part of it is the organization that's already built up, and the history of the organization and stuff like that. So, who knows? Maybe we do land Bradley Beal. I would love to see how that would play out. The Celtics definitely need another scorer in the finals when Tatum's not going, and Brown, I definitely saw the effort, and he definitely put up a lot of points, a lot more points than I thought he was going to in the finals, quite honestly. And his problem again is the turnovers, so they need to solve that. And if you have another guy who can score in big numbers, at least it opens up the floor for those other guys, so they're not playing in traffic like they were for a big portion of the finals.
Right. And Beal is a much better ball handler than Brown and Tatum. Like,
right,
he's not going to go to the hole and lose the ball 9 out of 10 times.
I don't know how they solve that problem, because that's a huge problem, right? I mean, even if you can put up 40 points a night, but you're still turning the ball over 10 times, I mean, that's a giant problem. I don't know how they solve it.
It's almost like watching it was like a guy banging his head against a wall and just never realizing there's a wall there.
Yeah.
It was almost like Brown would go to the hole and, okay, look, they're collapsing 3 guys on you.
Right.
You're not going to score. So you need to, what they're doing. You have to anticipate that they're dropping 3 guys to block you from getting a layup. Someone's open. You got to find an open man. You got to anticipate it before, when they start to crash, not wait till you're already down there and then you got nowhere to go.
Right.
It's so, I mean, it's still they are so young still. Brown's 24, Tatum's 23. That's
right. 25 and 24, I think.
Oh, is that okay? But still, that's they still can learn from what they've done. So that's it's definitely very positive going forward. But they got to figure stuff out, and you hope Stevens knows, okay, the door is open. You need to make these moves, and hopefully the ownership group is willing to spend over the cap, where they get the luxury tax hit. Like that's what Golden State is they're like 170 million over or they get hit with $170 million tax hit.
Right.
Because I think their regular salary is like 170 and they got hit with 170. That was their total. So it was like $340 million they spent on their team last year.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, they have to, right? You've got three Hall of Famers. Yep. You gotta pay those guys. If I'm Andrew Wiggins, I want money. I want to get paid. Yeah. He destroyed the Celtics in the finals. I mean, he was unbelievable.
So, speaking of MVP, what do you think?
MVP of the finals?
Yeah. Do you think Curry deserve? I knew he was going to get it because they were all pushing for him to get it. So it wasn't surprising that he won it. But I feel if you look at the whole series, I think Jermaine Wiggins probably deserved it over him.
Yeah, that's a hard one because
he shut down Tatum for the whole series.
I know. And honestly, was it game 5? Was that? Yeah, that was the game in Golden State.
Yeah, the one that Curry only scored like
right If he
10
doesn't
points or
score in
whatever.
that game, if
Yep.
he doesn't play like he played, the Celtics could have won that game. I mean, that was a winnable game, even with the turnovers.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about it. I knew they were going to give it to Curry. I mean, there was,
Yeah.
basically it was a foregone conclusion. People were talking about if the Celtics win, would they still give it to Curry? I'm like, no, let's not do that. We made that mistake once. Let's not do that again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so it'll
should
be interesting.
never be able to have. They should across all sports say if you're on a losing team, you cannot win the MVP because
Right.
obviously you weren't important enough.
Right. How valuable were you if your team lost?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that should be a precursor that it can only come from the winning team to win that award.
Well, you know that I hope that next week we still have Celtics to talk about, and that we've made a major move and we're moving forward in the offseason. One thing that's nice, even though the Celtics lost, the one thing that's nice about them making it to the finals is you have basketball all the way through June, and then you don't have to wait too long until it comes back, which, I really like because I love watching the games, even the preseason stuff and all that. So
Yeah, I look forward to summer league. And
Summer league's great.
Although it's like Naismith looks like a all-star out there usually during summer league, and then he actually looked pretty good beginning of the season. He just once you stop getting in the rotation, and then they just lose it. It's like Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or what it is, but Pritchard to me is I love Peyton Pritchard. I thought he gave us great minutes for a lot of the playoffs. But what he came out and said the other day, I don't know if you saw it, he said that, his goal in the offseason is to get more consistent minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, the way you earn those minutes is in crunch time, in important games, you make the plays, right? I mean, like you said, him, White, they all disappeared at the end of the finals. They just disappeared. I mean, and you usually think okay, if they're on their home floor, they're going to knock down a couple of shots at least. And they just disappeared. They didn't do anything. So, and I always know that the star gets the criticism, but a lot of the criticism to Tatum to me was a little bit unfair because he got zero. I mean, him and Brown got zero help from anybody else.
Right.
So, all right, we'll see what happens. We talked a lot about the Celtics. Let's get into the. You want to talk about the Patriots next? I see you're wearing your Patriots jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because today they came out and announced that next season or this season coming up, they will be able to wear the throwback jersey. So that means they're also going to be able to wear the helmets, which that was a big thing. We had talked about it early in the year that they said that they can have. So what happened before is they wouldn't let them have multiple helmets. It's like they had to have one helmet for the whole season. That's it.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be able to switch helmets and wear the old Pat Patriot helmet with the retro jerseys.
Will the old helmets have the new ones are almost super aerodynamic around the head? Is it?
Yeah, it's going to be the new helmet, but with the old paint
okay.
scheme.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Okay. That's cool. I think that's awesome. I love that. There's certain teams I don't like the throwbacks of, but the Patriots I definitely love the throwbacks of. And I can see you already have one, which is great. Yep. Are you gonna purchase anybody else since they're gonna be out?
We'll see. I really am looking for a Kyle Duggar jersey.
Oh, okay.
I saw one. So if you go to the pro shop at Patriots Place, you can customize jerseys on the spot.
Yeah.
And it looked like someone customized the Duggar jersey and then decided he didn't want it because it was on the rack for sale. And it was the wrong size, or I would have bought it because it was actually on sale too. Because it was,
Why don't they sell them?
Well, they only pre-make certain players for some reason. You would think that you would have every player of it, at least one of each, one size of each player.
Yeah.
But you can get it customized right there and wait for it. So I guess that's why they don't do every player now. But I always thought he's been a pretty good player the last couple of years that they would have jerseys ready to go. And another one that I always wanted to get was Solder because he was number 77, and that's so my favorite number 7. And so
cool.
in hockey I wear 77. So I wanted one of those, but they never made it. And back then you had to actually order them online and get them, like, yeah, and pay extra for it. So I was like, yeah, yeah.
Are you one of these guys? I forget, because I think we probably talked about this last year. But are you going to go down to training camp?
Um, I'll have to look at the schedule, see what days they're going to be down there. Because
Yeah.
last year we went for the first time, and it was an awesome take. So
Oh,
we
cool.
definitely enjoyed ourselves last year going. So, if it works out, I think we would probably do it again.
Nice. Yeah. Didn't you? Was it you that sent pictures, or was it Scotty that sent pictures last year?
No, that was me. Yeah, I
Oh,
had
okay.
video and pictures, and actually, I was interviewed on 2
Oh, that's right.
news
That's
stations too.
that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. That was awesome.
yeah.
What's so crazy, and this is like so insane about sports in general, but like the NFL, is like last year the big thing at training camp was like Cam Newton, right? You sent pictures of Cam Newton. Everybody was like super excited. He's gonna, there was talk about would Mac Jones get in there after 4 games, and then like if they really stunk up the joint after
Yeah.
4 games, and yet
And he was
here
cut
we are. We've
before,
had
and I was
he
like,
was
wow.
cut before everything, and everybody's
Yeah.
it's like whiplash. Like, what the hell is going on?
It was like that. That's what I was hoping. And actually, on both of the channels that I was interviewed on, I said, I was like, I hope they just go with the rookie and let him,
Yeah.
learn from the start instead of having to wait. And I was right.
Because honestly, I don't know if you've seen Mac Jones throwing the ball, but he looks like he's bulked up a bit. He looks a lot more confident than he did at the start of last training camp. So
I definitely have heard that he's in phenomenal shape. He came. I know that Kendrick Bourne has made comments on his Twitter
Yeah.
and stuff like that about him. So, and in college, his big thing was throwing the deep ball, and they got some flyers on this team right now between Devontae Parker and one of the guys they drafted is, like, I guess they're doing really well together so far. So, but it's easy to throw to a guy without pads on and no one covering. So,
right.
but we'll see. I don't have high expectations, but I'm always, even if I know my team's awful, you're still hopeful.
Well,
And
here's the
look
thing,
for-
right? I mean, they're not going to be awful in the regular season. I just don't see that happening. I mean, you're still going up against, let's be real, a crummy Jets team. Yeah, you got to play the Bills twice, but you're going to play the Raiders. They're going to be mediocre, probably.
I don't know. I think the whole AFC West is really good.
Yeah, but you still, I mean, I don't know. I don't trust Derek Carr personally, but I guess Josh McDaniels,
So
I know when we went into Denver that time and they beat us up, that was a little annoying, to say the least. They didn't really beat us up. It was overtime, right? We lost in overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got the oh crap. I hate when I'm off seasons. I always forget the players' names, but they got the wide receiver that from Green Bay.
Oh, right. Yeah. I forget his name too. Huge wide receiver. I'm too.
Yeah.
Not Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
I forget too. That's all right.
Whenever
It's
I'm not
all
in
right.
the season, I don't remember any of the players.
I know, because you're not talking about it that often, not watching about it. All right. So we covered
So,
go ahead.
Well, one more side note in the NFL is, we think officially Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, yes.
So,
Well,
and I guess he didn't mention the Patriots in his tweets or whatever.
for God's sakes.
So we got to go over that again.
But also his agent said he could come back in 23-24. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah. Well, yeah. It's like at this point, I'll believe it when I see you sitting behind the desk and the broadcast.
Well, I think all the major sports, you actually have to put in your paperwork for retirement. So until you actually officially submit that, you're not officially retired.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, you can say you're done, but you're still available, or you're still on the contract with if you're on the contract, you're still on the contract with that team until you decide not to play, or if you can say, oh yeah, I'm retired, and then come back next year and sign with another team. You can't do that.
Right.
So you're still potentially active and you belong to whatever team you're in a contract with, or you're a free agent until you actually officially submit your paperwork for retirement.
Yeah. Well, we'll believe it when he officially submits his paperwork. Then I don't know,
Yeah.
but these days you never know. People coming back all the time, and of course Brady's back. We'll talk about that when we get into the season. But all right, Sox. Let's talk Red Sox. They're in third place. They're doing better than they did at the start of the season. I think,
Like
right?
third or fourth, they might be in fourth place.
I think I just checked it today. I think it said third, but it could be a game or two
Oh, I think they're
off.
third in the wild card.
Oh, okay.
But,
I was leaning.
at this point now, they're not going to win the AL East unless the Yankees totally collapse.
I mean, the Yankees are going to have to
Yankees
lose like 60% of their games,
Yeah.
70% of their games. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's what they were talking about. I know last night when I was listening to the radio broadcast, they were talking about the Tampa Bay's losing, and that's what it is. Yeah. So they are a half a game ahead of Tampa right now. So they are in third, but they're 12 and a half behind the Yankees, which that's not. We've seen bigger collapses than that.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
out of the question, but
But what have the
The
Yankees?
wild
How many
card
games
is
have
the
the
thing.
Yankees lost? Like 15,
18.
18. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. It's like ridiculous.
And so right now they are tied with the Minnesota Twins for the second and third wild card spot. So they are, as they say, if the playoffs started today, it would be in.
Well,
So that's what we're just looking at that, and it's looking like it might be Toronto, Tampa, and Boston.
I
for
know,
the
it's crazy.
wild card spots.
Well, the thing that's weird to me is that, and we sort of touched on this with the NHL playoffs. The Major League Baseball regular season, it doesn't matter really where you fall as far as your playoff seeding. I mean, as long as you make the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't matter if you're 1, 2, 3, whatever, it doesn't matter because any game can be won by any team. I mean, here's the thing: right now, if you had the Red Sox playing the Yankees in the playoffs, you would think, oh, the Yankees have a huge edge, but just somebody needs to get hot for the Red Sox, or the
Right.
pitching needs to get hot. And it's crazy how it's different than basketball and football, I feel like, because the NHL and the Major League Baseball, it's so easy for a team to just like catch fire quick, and then all of a sudden they're making a run.
I really feel that home court ice field advantage in sports is non-existent now. Like
Yeah.
it's one thing having the home crowd, yeah, it's great, but it, as we saw with the Celtics, it's like home court didn't matter. They won. They had the best road record in the playoffs, and there was no bounce when they got home. If they had a bad loss on the road, you're like, oh, they'll come back and win, and like, no, that didn't really happen. And I mean, definitely hockey. Although right now Stanley Cup Finals is going on, and the home team has won every game so far.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I agree with you that home field, whatever advantage doesn't matter so much, especially in baseball too, because when you're, like in a basketball game, the crowd is pretty rowdy for the whole game.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's back and forth, and they're into it unless, teams getting blown out. In baseball, it's like, yeah, they'll go crazy when there's a strikeout, or guy gets a double and drives in 2 runs, they'll go crazy. But in between all of that, it's like basically people sitting on their hands. The only time I remember it being just out of control rowdy was the series with the Red Sox and the Yankees when the Red Sox came back in 2004. I felt like that was one of those series where the crowd didn't shut up in both ballparks. It was just loud the whole time, which is probably a little disconcerting if you're a baseball player. But it seems like baseball fans just aren't as vocal throughout the course of the whole game because, frankly, there's not as much action going on.
Well, and it's 4 hours long usually.
Right. Especially Yankees, Red Sox.
Yankees.
Yeah.
Well, so what I've always been pretty positive with the Red Sox because it's my number one team. I love baseball. I love the Red Sox. So I've been positive since their bad April, and was saying they just got to go one game at a time, but one series at a time. Just keep winning series, and they've they won this series already. That tonight they go for the sweep. They've won, I think, 4 in a row. And actually, I think the last one they didn't win was actually a 2-game series, and they split.
Yeah.
So they've been winning almost every series since early May, and that's how they got back in it. And they got a tough stretch coming. They have so they have the Tigers tonight. They go to Cleveland this weekend. Then they play Tampa Bay next week. So that's going to be a huge series. And then I know they have the Yankees coming up again. So they just gotta 2 out of 3, and they have the last 2 weeks they've been doing it without Evaldi, without Garrett Whitlock. I heard Whitlock is close to coming back. Plus they have Kike Hernandez has been on the IL. He'll be coming back shortly. They got their guys coming back.
Yeah.
And so things are looking good. And we'll see when they play the Yankees in Toronto and Tampa Bay again. And they had a good series last weekend. St. Louis Cardinals were the number 1 team in the NL Central, and they won that series 2 games to 1. So they have played good teams in this stretch also. So and they got to get Evaldi back. Chris Sale should be back, I'm guessing, All-Star break time. And
I like this optimism on you, Rubber Shoes. This is a change of pace from
I know,
you in the Celtics series, because you were so negative during
well,
the Celtics series.
So I tried, especially regular season, I try to look at the big picture. During the playoffs, it's so hard when they have a bad game to feel positive after it. But I tell you, that I don't ever remember being so frustrated during a playoff run and then making it to the finals.
I know.
It was just, they would play so bad in some games. You're like, how did they even make it to this point?
Well, it's, not to get back into it, but a bunch of the teams did that though, right? I mean, Golden State got blown out by like 55 points by Memphis. It's imagine that, like, holy crap.
Very, very ugly NBA playoffs.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
It's ugly, but it also was, it's a good thing too, because there was teams where, in the past, it's usually going to be the number 1 seed from the East and the West are going to be in the finals. That's usually,
right.
It was, you might have some good games here and there, but that's how it usually ended up. These this year and last year, it seems like it's more open up. There's more teams have a chance to make it to the finals.
There's a lot of talent in the NBA, like a lot of talent, and some really good teams. It remains to be seen what shakes out in the off season, but
it's definitely a good thing for the NBA that they
100%. And for me, it's like, and this kind of dovetails into, like, for me, it makes me think about baseball a little bit, because baseball struggles because they don't have a ton of superstars, right? Like, if you ask the casual baseball fan to tell me the top 5, players in the league right now, they probably wouldn't be able to.
So one of the local sports radio shows we were listening to, I don't know if it was Coming Home yesterday or something, but we listened. They were talking about that because Manny made the Red Sox Hall of Fame the other night. He was out there on the field, and they were talking. It's like, okay, you had Manny, you had Ortiz, Bonds,
Right.
Sosa, McGuire. You had all these stars, A-Rod, and then, like, right now it's like Mike Trout is probably the best player, or definitely in the top 5. But who else is a every household name,
right,
that every kid is going to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go see this? Those guys aren't there.
They don't exist right now. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the ebb and flow of a league, but it seems like for a good portion of time over the last few years, there hasn't been. I mean, Ohtani is probably the closest, right? He's the closest guy where people that he was, people were making a big deal out of him. It was like something you had never seen before because of the way he was playing on both, sides of the ball. So I guess he was the closest thing you had to a household name.
Yeah.
But even him, like I would love to talk to 10 random fans, of the Red Sox and ask them to name like the top 5 non-Red Sox players.
Right.
And I bet you half of them couldn't even do it. So it's
Yeah,
just a problem that the
it
baseball
could be
needs
that
to.
they just have a lot of they do have a lot of young stars. They have Fernando Tatis Jr., but he's been hurt. So that's one. He hasn't been in the on the highlights because he's been hurt. Acuna Jr. for Atlanta Braves. He missed the playoffs last year because he was hurt. He came back probably a month into this year. So those are 2 huge stars that they missed playoff runs last year.
Yeah.
They Toronto just has to get there. They have a couple young studs. That's what I think it is a lot of the really good players are very young and they haven't had that playoff run where they get the on TV, national TV for a playoff run where everyone can learn them. Because I think a lot of casual fans will still tune into playoff games even when their team's not in. Although baseball really does a bad job at trying to keep it where the East Coast they do not cater to the East Coast, and most of the NHL has been great. Their Stanley Cup Finals starts at 8:00.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
It gets over, if it's gonna get over about 10:30, maybe 11 if it goes a little long.
Yeah.
But like the Celtics games, they were 11:30 was an early game if it got over.
Yeah. No kidding. And that was a fast game. The other games would go longer. The just to make, piggyback on your point about younger stars, if you think about, they do need a playoff run. They do need a playoff run to sort of rise to prominence in the casual fans' eyes. Because if you look at like Tatum and Brown, now people know who they are, right? The casual basketball fan knows who they are. But last year they didn't. Probably up until May they didn't.
But they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice before this.
Yeah.
So they've had pretty long playoff runs already in their young career. So they're I think, and basketball is more popular with the kids too.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different because they're in the game the whole time. So you flip it on for 20 minutes and you see the stars, All right, Rubber Shoes. I think we covered it all. We've done our due diligence. Red Sox, Celtics, Patriots. We even covered the Connecticut Sun, thanks to you. So I appreciate that and allowing me to talk about that for a minute.
Touched on the Stanley Cup Finals.
We covered everything. Checked all the boxes. Yep. We won't get fired. Timmy won't be calling
actually,
central office.
we have to mention one more thing or we will be fired. We didn't talk about the US Open.
Oh God. Well, I'm gonna let you rant on that because I didn't watch it. No, I didn't watch it.
It was so I'm happy because I don't know how Timmy and Scotty Dukes watch. I like to watch one. I like to see a guy who comes out of nowhere, which Matt Fitzpatrick, who won the US Open, isn't a household name.
Right.
I love watching the household names choke. And that happened this weekend. DeChambeau, I think he finished double digits over par. Mickelson, I don't even know if Mickelson made the cut because I didn't see him over the weekend at all. Brooks Koepka, I don't like him. He played awful this weekend. So a lot of the guys that I don't care for did really bad this weekend. So I was very happy at that. And then you had 2 guys coming into Sunday, 2 young guys. Hopefully the problem right now with golf, they don't have a star that can sustain it for more than a year.
Right.
Like Jordan Spieth had a good year, 2 years, and then he's there at the tournaments, but he's not dominating like he did for that year and a half. Rory McIlroy had a little year and a half. I was kind of pulling for him this weekend, and he ended up I think like 2 or 3 strokes off the lead.
Did you
But
make it down to Brookline?
No, I heard the
Oh.
traffic was horrendous.
Oh, I'm sure.
But if I had thought it out, I don't even know if how they do the tickets.
Yeah, I don't
If
know
they're
either.
even available, if you got to get them like a year in advance or whatever. I know the Masters is almost impossible. You have to enter a lottery to get a chance to
Oh,
get it.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you enter a lottery, most people don't get anything, and then you could possibly get a ticket to go to Augusta, but it's like a practice round.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's very selective on what you get, and you're just happy to get what you can. So that's probably a bucket list thing that's never going to get checked off, going to Augusta. I would love to go, but maybe I should just put my name in the lottery. And
Why not?
see what happens.
Why not?
Yeah,
You never know what could
maybe I'll
happen.
start doing that.
On your 60th birthday, you never know. You
Yeah,
might get tickets
I
in the
could
mail.
do the wrap up live from Augusta. That would be something.
From the 14th tee or something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. We covered golf.
All right, we
Now-
covered it.
now
Okay,
we're
good. All right, we won't get fired. That's all I was worried about. When it was just going to be the two of us. I'm like, I
Yeah.
just don't want us to get fired. We don't want it to be not ATB. We don't want it to be just T. You know, we don't
Yeah,
want to get
yeah,
fired from it. So, all right. Thank you for joining us. If you want to check us out every day, Rubber Shoes does the rant and wrap up. It's on our Instagram account, or you can just go to atbshow.com and click through. That's where you'll find the podcast version of the show and also the YouTube channel. So you can check out past episodes if you'd like. And we hope to catch you back here next week, Wednesday, every Wednesday night, 5 o'clock. We'll be here. Thanks, Rubber Shoes.
Have a good one.